Begin today the Gemara right at the beginning of Daf Mem Ches Samad Aleph Uleimai. So this is the middle of a sugya. We're discussing the halacha that it said in the Mishnah in the beginning of the Perek that both a Nazir and a Kohen Gadol could be metame for a meis mitzvah. So the Gemara brought the source for this regarding a Kohen Gadol, where the pasuk says La'aviv. The full pasuk actually is, you have it quoted on the side of the Gemaras, in some new Gemaras, Val kol nafshes meis lo yavai, lo aviv uleimai lo yitama. So the Gemara explained that lo aviv uleimai are really extra, because the fact that a Kohen Gadol can't be metame to any meis, that it doesn't have to say by Kohen Gadol. I could learn that from this that it says by a Kohen Hedyet that he can't be metame. So for sure, Kohen Gadol is the same as a Kohen Hedyet. So when it adds Val kol nafshes meis lo yavai, it's coming to say not only what's also to a Kohen Hedyet, but a Kohen Gadol is even more. Even his relatives, he can't become tamei too. So then when it adds lo aviv uleimai, why does it have to say that? I already know that he can't become tamei to his relatives. So the Gemara said from lo aviv I learn out that lo aviv ain't metame, but he could be metame to a mes mitzvah. So this is the source that a Kohen Gadol could be metame himself to a mes mitzvah. Then the Gemara now here will continue and explain what you learn out from uleimai, which is the other extra word here. And then from over there we're going to move on also to a pasuk that it says by the Nazir what it's coming to teach. Let's see. So first let's focus on the word uleimai that it says by Kohen Gadol, which is extra. What is this coming to teach? So Zok the Gemara. The word uleimai that it says by the Kohen Gadol is written to teach a gzeira shave that Rebbe says. The Tanya learned na braise Rebbe Yomer gabe Nazir. It says in the pasuk by the Nazir. So by Nazir also it says he is not allowed to become tamei. So it says b'moisam. So what does this mean? So the full pasuk actually over there regarding the Nazir is la'aviv, uleimai, la'achiv, la'achaisai, la'yitama. All these relatives, he's not allowed to become tamei lahem b'moisam when they die. Because he's a Nazir. So the word b'moisam is obviously an extra word. It's self-understood that it's talking about when they died. So what do we learn out from this? That b'moisam me'ena metame, that a Nazir is not allowed to be metame to the tumah of a mace. However, he is allowed to become tamei to when there's a mitzayre and or a ziva. Those tumas are not usher for a Nazir. So this is the source that it says by Nazir. So now we're going to explain how we know this regarding a Kohen Gadol as well. And here we'll use the word uleimai for this gzeira shava. So let's see. Ve'ein ela ben Nazir. So the extra word b'moisam teaches me this halacha regarding a Nazir. The Kohen Gadol minayin. From where do I know that the same applies to a Kohen Gadol? So amarta. So you say as follows. Kohen Gadol. It doesn't have to say by Kohen Gadol the word uleimai she'ein talmud loima. It's not teaching me anything new. Shaharei kavachaymahu. There's a kavachayma. It's self-understood that the Kohen Gadol is not allowed to become tamei to his mother. After it tells us that he's not allowed to become tamei to a relative, so we know for sure that he's not allowed to become tamei to his mother. And the Gemara actually explains it with a kavachayma. Shaharei kavachaymahu. We can understand this from a Kohen Hedyet with the following kavachayma. Uma im b'makim sheKohen Hedyet metame la'achiv me'aviv. If, when it comes to a Kohen Hedyet, the halacha is that a Kohen Hedyet could become tamei to a brother, to a relative, a brother which is his brother, share the same father, right? So he's a relative, a brother sharing the same father. He's allowed to become tamei to that brother. But ein Kohen Gadol metame la'aviv. But a Kohen Gadol, not only is he not allowed to become tamei to this brother, they share the same father, but even to the father, he's not allowed to become tamei. So if so, when it comes to becoming tamei, a Kohen Hedyet becoming tamei to a brother, and they only share the same mother. So over there, that's not a relative that a Kohen Hedyet even is allowed to become tamei to. He only shares the same mother. That's not a brother that a Kohen Hedyet is allowed to become tamei to. So for sure, ein edin she'ein Kohen Gadol metame li'imai. So for sure, the Kohen Gadol can't be metame to the mother. If you can't be metame to the brother, and that they share the same mother, so the Kohen Gadol for sure can't be metame to the mother. So therefore, if the Kohen Gadol can't be metame to the father, for sure the Kohen Gadol can't be metame to the mother. So im zechisa me'adin. So if we know this halach already from this kal v'chaymer, so ma tamad loyma imoy by Kohen Gadol. Why does the Torah write the extra word of uli imoy by Kohen Gadol? So the answer is mufne. It's an extra word lahakish v'lod ne'emen gzeira shava, to compare and learn out gzeira shava from Nazir. Nema imoy ben Nazir. The word imoy, it also says in the pasuk by the Nazir. Nema imoy by Kohen Gadol, and it says it here by the Kohen Gadol. Ma imoy ha'ama ben Nazir. The imoy that it says by Nazir, so what's the halacha by the Nazir, as we learned that before? B'moisam ena metame, that only to the tumah of mace he's not allowed to become tameh. Avol metamehu lenigam ulezivasam, but he is allowed to be metame himself to a negayim, to a nega, or a mitzayde, or a zav. So af imoy ha'ama b'kohen gadol, so too the term imoy that it says by kohen gadol, b'moisam ena metame, avol metame lenigam ulezivasam. But you could become tamei to a mitzayre or a zav. So the extra word, the le'imai, that it says by Kohen Gadol, is teaching me this halacha, this gzeira shava that we learn from Nazir, that he's allowed to become tamei to a mitzayre or a zav. Okay, now the Gemara returns to the original subject we're discussing, which is that you're allowed to be metame to a meis mitzvah. Both a Kohen Gadol and a Nazir is allowed to be metame to a meis mitzvah. So the Gemara continues, Ashkechan Kohen Gadol. So we find the source that from the pasuk that it says by Kohen Gadol, the extra word the aviv that teaches me that the Kohen Gadol could be metame meis mitzvah. Nazir minalon. From where do I learn that a Nazir could be metame meis mitzvah? So the Tanya we learned in a brayse as follows. So for the purpose of understanding this brayse, it's going to be a lengthy brayse here with two basic opinions, Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva. You should keep in mind the entire pasuk, so you'll have the cheshbon of the limud. The Gemara is going to learn out a few different things from this pasuk. So here they have the pasuk, and like I said in the Gemara, they have it on the side here. So the pasuk that it says by a Nazir. So in the first pasuk it says Kol Yemei Azira Lashem Al Nefesh Meis Lo Yavai. Then in the next pasuk it continues La Aviv Uli Imai La Achiv La Chaysei Lo Yatam Lahem B'Maisam Ki Nezer Lakal Vareishai. So the Gemara is going to dash in all of these words here. Let's see. So the Braisa says, the Tanya called Yemei Hazirei Lashem Al Nefesh Meis Lo Yavai. As long as he's a Nazir, so he shouldn't become Tomei to a Nefesh Meis. So what do we understand from this pasuk here? Shemei I would think that this includes Afil a Nefesh Behema, even to touch a dead animal, B'mashma. That would also be included. Why? The pasuk uses the term nefesh when it talks about a behema. So maybe here when it says nefesh, it also includes a behema. Tamad loymar al nefesh meis. That's why it says not only the word nefesh but also meis. Al nefesh meis lo yavai b'nefesh adam hakasim medaber. It's speaking about a dead human body, not a behema. Okay, so that's what's learned out from the extra word meis in this pasuk. Rabbi Shmuel says, Ein tzarich. You don't have to learn it out from the extra word of mace. Rather, because Harei the pasuk here says, Lo yavai, that you should not come to this tumah with the nefesh mace. What is the term Lo yavai? B'nefashais hametamais b'biyah hakostem medaber. The pasuk is speaking about a type of tumah that you become tamei by coming into the same oihel, by being under the same roof together with this mace. So therefore, that's only by a human being, a body of a human being, not with a nefesh behema. So therefore, we know that so we don't need the extra word mace. We learn it out from lo yavai. Now the Braisa continues here according to Rabbi Shmuel. As I said, the other pasuk continues and says la aviv, la imai, la achiv, la chaysai, la yatame. That a nazir is not allowed to be metame to all these relatives. So we're going to dash on something from all of these extra words over here. The Gemara will explain that they're extra, and we're dashing from them. So it says in the pasuk, what that teaches me is that to a father and a mother it can become tamei, but he could become tamei to a meis mitzvah. Okay, now the Gemara here is the Braisa here simply saying that you learn out this that he can become tamei to a meis mitzvah is from both words la'aviv u'le'imai. But as we'll see, we're not learning it out from both of these words. You don't need two extra words to learn out both of these points, at least not according to Rabbi Shmuel. So we'll see soon in the continuation of the Gemara. But meanwhile, let's learn the Braisa itself, which will explain why we're learning this halacha that he could become tummy to a meis mitzvah from la'aviv u'le'imai. Is la'aviv u'le'imai really extra in the pasuk regarding the Nazir, that we could use this to learn out that he could become tummy to a meis mitzvah? So the Braisa explains. Now, first the Braisa explains, why do I even need a special limud to tell me that a Nazir could become tummy to a meis mitzvah? Even if it would not tell me this halacha here, yeshli bidin, I have a kavachayim, and I can learn that from the Kohen Gadol. Kohen Gadol, we already learned that from the word la'aviv, that it says by Kohen Gadol that it can be metama to a meis mitzvah. So therefore I could say, Kohen Gadol shekudusha, if when it comes to a Kohen Gadol, his kedusha is on a higher level because his kedusha is forever. Nevertheless, metama lemeis mitzvah, he is allowed to become tummy to a meis mitzvah. Nazir she'en kedusha saylam, so a Nazir, his kedusha is not forever. So most definitely he should be allowed to be metame to a meis mitzvah. So the Braisa now continues and says, no, it's not a good kavachaymer. If you'll teach me this halacha by a Kohen Gadol that he's allowed to become tummy to a meis mitzvah, because there is a certain leniency that I find regarding his tumah. If he becomes tamei, he doesn't have to bring a carbon for that tumah. But there's a stringency by the tumah of a Nazir that if he becomes tamei, he then has to bring special karbanis for this. So he has a higher level of severity to the issur of him becoming tamei. He has to bring a carbon for this. So he shouldn't become tamei to a meis mitzvah. Therefore, we do need a special limud. You can't learn it from Kohen Gadol. We need a limud here to say that he's not allowed to become tamei, but he could become tamei to a meis mitzvah. That's what these extra words of la'aviv v'le'imai are coming to teach me. But now the Braisa continues, as I said before, are the words la'aviv v'le'imai by a Nazir really extra? And therefore I'm saying that it comes to teach me that he can become tamei to a meis mitzvah? Or maybe I should say as follows. Maybe the pasuk is writing by a Nazir that he's not allowed to become tummy to his father and mother because it's here, it's teaching me this halacha itself, that to a relative, to a father and a mother, he's not allowed to become tummy. But this Nazir is allowed to become tummy to other people, to mesim that are not a relative. Maybe that's what it's coming to teach me. In other words, the Braisa is saying, why is it extra? And you're saying that it's coming to teach me this halacha of meis mitzvah. It's coming to teach me this halacha itself, that a Nazir maybe only to a father or mother is not allowed to become tamei, and not anyone else. Anyone else he is allowed. So just to clarify here, the Pshat and the Gemara, Taisvis, the Rosh, the Rishonim asked the question over here, how could the Gemara even say such a thing? That a Nazir could become tamei to other mesim that are not relatives. First of all, the question is, what would be the svara for this? Okay, so that, the Rishonim explained, the svara for this is that maybe a Nazir becoming tummy to a father and mother, the Torah is warning him, dafka, not to become tummy to a father and mother, because that's a father and mother is someone that the Nazir has a lot of tsar for this, when his father and mother passed away. And so therefore, the Torah asks dafke that he's going to become a tamei to his father and mother. He's going to be mezalzel completely into kedusha of his naziris by being Isaac and burying his father and mother. So there the Torah doesn't allow it. But other mesim that are not relatives, so he's not going to be necessarily getting involved in touching or in being there for the kvura. So over there the Torah didn't ask that. That's the svara. But the question is more. The question is, in the pasuk by Nazir, it says that Kol Yimei Azir El Hashem Al Nefesh Meis Lo Yavai. Nefesh Meis Lo Yavai just means anybody. So how could the Gemara now say that the Torah is writing La'aviv V'le'imai to tell me that only a relative not, but to other Mesim yet? So Taisvis explains that what the Gemara is saying right now is that the Torah spells out La'aviv V'le'imai, and from this you'll understand that when it said before Al Nefesh Meis Lo Yavai, it doesn't mean any mace. It means a mace which is a relative. There's the La'aviv V'le'imai, and then there's other relatives. So maybe we should say that Torah wrote La'aviv V'le'imai to clarify to you that when it says Al Nefesh Meis Lo Yavai, that it only means a mace that's a relative. So then it's not coming to teach me the halacha of a meis mitzvah. So the Gemara says, no, this is not a svara. So Amarta, you'll say as follows. Kal v'chaimer, I learn out with a kal v'chaimer from a kohen hedyet that this is not so. Because kohen hedyet shemetam l'kreivin, ein metam l'shar mesim. If, when it comes to a kohen hedyet, and a kohen hedyet is allowed to become tamei to a relative, but ein metam l'shar mesim, to stam a mace, he's not allowed to become tamei. So Nazir she'ein metam l'kreivin, a Nazir that is not allowed to become Tomei to a relative, as the Pasuk says, most definitely is not allowed to become Tomei to any mace. So therefore, I could understand already from Kohen Hedyet that there's no svara to say such a thing, that a relative, there's an isavim to become Tomei. But someone that's not a relative, there is allowed to become Tomei. It's not so. It works the other way. The svara is the other way around, as we see by Kohen Hedyet. Okay, so therefore the Braisa concludes. So what do we understand from this? So what are the extra words of coming to teach me? As we just explained, it's certainly not coming to teach me that he's only not allowed to become tamei to a father or a mother or any similar relative. So what is it coming to teach me? So we go back to what Rabbi Shmuel said originally, that it's coming to teach me that he could become tamei to a meis mitzvah. The Braisa is not done yet. The Braisa continues that actually if the Braisa would have not said so now it actually wouldn't be so clear whether the Nazir is b'chlal asa to become tamei to a father and a mother. In other words, what the Braisa is going to address now is that when the Torah writes la'aviv u'le'imay by a Nazir, not allowed to come tamei to a father or a mother, so the Braisa is coming to teach me this itself. Yeah, Taka said already, V'akol nefesh meis lo yavai, that he's not allowed to become tamei to any mace. Then the Torah writes la'aviv u'le'imay to say that he's also not allowed to become tamei to a father, a mother, or a relative. So again, who says it's coming to teach me that he's not allowed to become tamei to a meis mitzvah? Maybe it's just coming to teach me this chiddush itself, that he's not allowed to become tamei to a relative, to a father or mother. So now the question is, what would happen if the Torah would not write this by a Nazir? If it would not write Aviv Imi by a Nazir? So I would have to look around in Torah to see where I compare to other places where there's an Issa to become Tamei to a mace. And I have two places I could learn from. Either I could learn a Nazir from a Kohen Gadol, that's not allowed to become Tamei to a father and mother, or I could learn Nazir from a Kohen Hedyet. So let's see in the words of the Gemara here. So now, the Gemara continues. If the pasuk would not say over here the words of la'aviv u'le'imay that a Nazir is not allowed to become tamei to his father or mother, yeshli bedin, I have one way I could learn it out from a kohen gadol. Nemru klolos b'kohen gadol. The Torah writes in general terms that a kohen gadol is not allowed to become tamei to any mace, as it says by the kohen gadol. I'll call nafshis meis lo yavai. So it says there in general, call nafshis meis lo yavai. And over here as well, v'nemru klolos b'nazir. Over here by the Nazir, it also says very similar that al nefesh meis lo yavai. So therefore, I can learn them out from each other, and I could say, ma klolas ha'amurais b'kohen gadol. Just like when it says that a kohen gadol is not allowed to be metame to a meis lo aviv and metame, that over there as well the halacha is that he's not allowed to be metame to a father, and therefore I learn out aval metames l'meis mitzvah. He is allowed to become tamei to a meis mitzvah. Av klolas ha'amurais ben Nazir. So too, when the Torah writes that a Nazir should not become tamei to any meis, so even if it would not ever spell out la'aviv or le'imai, I would already compare to kohen gadol that includes the father and the mother, and therefore, when it says la'aviv by Nazir, why does it have to write la'aviv by Nazir? La'aviv ene mitam av mitam l'meis mitzvah. So then I could say, like we said before, that the la'aviv is extra, because I already know that he's not allowed to become tamei to a father, because I learned it out from kohen gadol. So over here, it's just coming to say that he's allowed to become tamei to a meis mitzvah. That's one approach. So then, what the Braisa said before stays, that la'aviv is coming to teach me that he's not allowed to become tamei to a meis mitzvah. But the Braisa continues, or maybe you can go in a different direction. Who says I compare Nazir to kohen gadol? Maybe I should say that nemru klolos b'kohen hedyet. It says in general that a kohen hedyet is not allowed to become tamei to a mace, and v'nemru klolos b'nazir. And it says in general that a Nazir is not allowed to become tamei to a mace. Ma klolos amuris b'kohen hedyet mitam la'aviv. So just like the klolos, when it says a kohen hedyet that he's not allowed to become tamei to a mace, so but he is allowed to become tamei to his father. Av klolos ha'amura is ben Nazir mitam alaviv. So too, when it says in general that a Nazir is not allowed to become Tomei to a mace, he is allowed to become Tomei to his father. So if so, Talmud Loimar, so the conclusion of the Braisa seemingly should be, what the Braisa is really trying to point out is, that really when it says La'aviv by the Nazir, La'aviv is not extra. If it wouldn't say so, I would never come to the conclusion on my own that a Nazir is not allowed to become Tomei to his father. I would compare Nazir to a Kohen Hediyot, and a Kohen Hediyot is allowed to become Tomei to his father. So the Torah here has to write La'aviv by the Nazir to teach me just this halacha itself, that the Nazir is not allowed to become a Tomei to the father. But the Braisa here concludes and says, Talmud Loimar La'aviv u'le'imay lo yitama. Now, what does La'aviv u'le'imay lo yitama teach me? That hola meis mitzvah metame. That he is allowed to become Tomei to a meis mitzvah, like what the Braisa originally said. So the Gemara immediately asks on this conclusion of the Braisa, why are we concluding this way? Don't we need La'aviv for the halacha itself to say that a Nazir can't become Tomei to the father? Not that the diok that a meis mitzvah he could be metama to, as the Braisa just concluded. If it would not say La'aviv, I would learn out from a Kohen Hediyot that he's allowed to become Tomei to the father. So the conclusion of the Braisa is not understood. So the Gemara says, and therefore, Elo La'aviv lo mishem etam La'aviv. When the Torah writes La'aviv, it has to write La'aviv to say that the Nazir is not allowed to become Tomei to the father. Okay, but after it writes that, so now I already know that you can't become Tomei to the father. For sure, you can't become Tomei to any relative. So now La'achiv, when the pasuk continues by the Nazir and it also says La'achiv, why does it say La'achiv, the brother? The Torah spells out the brother. It's extra to tell you that for meis mitzvah it could be metame. Okay, now why does the Torah say uli imai by the Nazir? Uli imai l'gzeir shave l'kid Rebbe. The uli imai that it says by Nazir is for the gzeir shave that we mentioned before in the beginning of the daf, where it said that the imai is the gzeir shave between. It says imai by Kohen Gadol. It says imai by the Nazir. And both the word le'imoy by the Kohen Gadol and the le'imoy by Nazir are extra, and they're both being used for this Gzeir Shaveh to teach me that the tumah of a mace is aser for the Nazir, and then also aser by the Kohen Gadol, but the tumah of a mitzayre or a zav is not aser for that Gzeir Shaveh. So that's what the extra word le'imoy by Nazir is written for. Now, there's another extra word that it says by the pasuk of Nazir. La chaisa, sister. Why does it have to say that? Once it says you can't become Tomei to the father, I know that any relative is the same. Why does it have to spell out a sister? Look at the Tanya. So from this we learn out in Braisa. The Tanya, la chaisa ma tamid loima. Why does the Torah here say a sister? Harei. So the answer is as follows: Harei shalach lishchet es pischei. Person was on the way to go and shechtas carbon pesach or v'lamul as benai, or to go and make a bris milah for her son. So according to most Rishonim, this Braisa is not speaking about a Kohen or a Kohen Gadol or a Nazir. It's speaking about a Yisrael. Even though the pasuk we're going to be learning it out from is the pasuk La Chaisai that it says by a Nazir, but we're using this extra word here by the Nazir to teach me a halacha in general, benegay to every Yisrael. This is what's known many times in Eina Inyan. If you have an extra word in one place, which is not needed for here, it could be used for somewhere else. So over here, as I said, most Rishonim say we're talking about Stam, a Yisrael that's on his way to do this mitzvah. So what happened now? And then V'shama Shemeis Lemeis. He heard that he has a relative that passed away. So he has to go tend to him. Yochel Yitame. So I would think that he should not bring his Korban Pesach. He should go and become Tameh. Then he won't be able to bring the Korban Pesach. Or he should go and take care of the mace, and then the milah will be pushed off. It won't be on the day that he has to do it. So the Braisa says, no, Amarta lo yitama. He's not allowed to go and be matam himself. Let someone else take care of it. He has his mitzvah now. Or by a Korban Pesach, actually, it's interesting, really nobody else could take care of it. By a Korban Pesach, everybody has to bring the Korban Pesach, but the mace will have to wait, and they'll bury him later, just like on a Shabbos and Yom Tov, but the mace will have to wait. Okay, but now the Braisa continues. I would think that the same is also true, that this person has to bring a Korban Pesach, or he has to do a bris milah. So even for a meis mitzvah, he shouldn't be metame. So this is what the extra word la'chaisai is coming to teach me, that la'chaisai udeinu metame, to his sister is not allowed to become tameh, hol meis mitzvah metame, but to a meis mitzvah he is allowed to be metame himself. In other words, that this brayso is teaching me that meis mitzvah pushes off Pesach and Mila, even though these are two mitzvahs that are very, very severe, because these are the only two mitzvahs that say that if you don't fulfill them, you chayav kares. But nevertheless, meis mitzvah pushes it off. That's the chiddush of ula chaisai. So this is the conclusion of Rabbi Shmuel's opinion in darshaning all the words of the pasuk that it says regarding a nazir. So just to review again, according to Rabbi Shmuel, so the pasuk that it says by a nazir, it says la'aviv, la'imai, la'achiv, la'chaisai, la'yitama. So la'aviv is coming to teach me the halach itself, that a nazir is not allowed to become tummy to a relative, to a father. That's because otherwise I wouldn't know. I would think he's only not allowed to become a tameh to rechaykim, to someone that's not a relative. So la'aviv is coming to teach me that itself. Uli'ima is used for gzeir shava, as you brought before, the gzeir shava, to say that it does not include the tumah of mitzayra or ezav. La'achiv, Rabbi Shmuel said, is coming to teach me meis mitzvah, that he is allowed to become tameh for a meis mitzvah. And la'chaisa is coming to teach me that meis mitzvah also pushes off even a mitzvah like Mila or Pesach that have kodesh in it. That's the drashas according to Rabbi Shmuel. Now comes Rabbi Akiva in the brayso. Rabbi Akiva learns the psukim a bit differently. So Rabbi Akiva says that when it says nafshois, or actually we're talking here about the pasuk by a nazir, it does not say nafshois by nazir, that's what it says by kohen gadol, but it says nefesh. So when it says, so the pasuk actually says, Kol Yimei Azir El Hashem Al Nefesh Meis Lo Yavai. So Nefesh and Meis are sort of extra. Again, over there, if you remember, according to Rabbi Shmuel, what did he learn out from Nefesh Meis? He held that it has to teach me that it's not doesn't include a behemoth, that it's tafka a human being. But apparently Rabbi Akiva doesn't hold that needs a pasuk. So how does he teach Nefesh and Meis? Nefesh Elo Rechaykim. If we would only say Nefesh, I would say that he's not allowed to become Tomei to any Meis which is not a relative. Meis elo akrevim. Then it adds the word meis. It's saying that a nazir is not allowed to become tameh even to a relative. So right in this pasuk, nefesh meis, I already know that a nazir is not allowed to become tameh, not to the chaykim and not to krevim. La'aviv u'li'imai einim mitameh. So then when it says la'aviv u'li'imai that he's not allowed to become tameh, aval mitameh u'lemeis mitzvah. So the words la'aviv u'li'imai are extra. They don't, la'aviv does not have to teach me that he can't become tameh to a relative. So what is it coming to teach me? That for meis mitzvah it could become tameh. And we'll see, the Gemara will later explain why, according to Rabbi Akiva, we're learning this from both words, la'aviv and la'imai. Okay? Now la'achiv, according to Rabbi Akiva, what do we learn out from la'achiv? She'im haya kohen gadol vehu nazir. That in a situation where he's both a kohen gadol and he's a nazir, which is very interesting. The Mefarshim talk about this. A kohen gadol is really supposed to cut his hair all the time, and the maximum he's allowed to allow his hair grow is 30 days. So that means that this is a nazir. Kohen gadol is exactly 30 days, the minimum of a nazir, and he cuts it right away on the 30th day. It shouldn't grow longer than that time. Okay, so this kohen gadol is a nazir. So he has both, two milas. He's a kohen gadol and a nazir. So we learn out, he's allowed to become tameh to a meis mitzvah. Till there we only learned out that a nazir is allowed to become tameh to a meis mitzvah, a kohen gadol. According to Rabbi Akiva, you need another pasuk, la'achiv, to say that if he's both a kohen gadol and a nazir, can't become tameh to a meis mitzvah. La'chaisai, what do we learn out from the extra word la'chaisai? So here he learns the same like Rabbi Shmuel. That's a limud. That's not only according to Rabbi Shmuel. The kula alma, that's what you learn out from la'chaisai, that we push off even a mitzvah that has kodesh in it, like Pesach and Mila, for the meis mitzvah, that is. Okay, now the Gemara will come back to explain different details in the differences in the drashas here between Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Shmuel. Well, Rabbi Akiva, so now according to Rabbi Akiva, gzeir shava the Rebbe minolei. From where do we know the gzeir shava of Rebbe? If Rabbi Akiva says that we need la'aviv and la'imai, both, to teach me the halacha, over here by Nazir, when it says la'aviv la'imai, we need both to teach me the halacha of that he could become tameh to a meis mitzvah. And as I said, the Gemara will explain on the next daf why he needs both, but you need already both for that. So you don't have an extra word here for the gzeir shava of from Nazir to kohen gadol, to say to teach me the gzeir shava that With the Gzeira Shava of Rebbe, right? The Gzeira Shava of Rebbe was to teach me that not a Mitzayra and not a Zav are in the Isra, but not of a Kohen Gadol and not of a Nazir. So from where does Rabbi Akiva know that Gzeira Shava? Just like Rabbi Akiva said over here regarding a Nazir, that you need La'ay Alviv Uli Imai both together to teach me that he can become Tami Tameis Mitzvah. It's the same by the La'aviv Uli Imai that it says by Kohen Gadol. Over there as well, he doesn't separate La'aviv from Li'imai, that Li'imai will be for the Gzeira Shava. La'aviv Li'imai by the Kohen Gadol seemingly is also needed to teach me that he could become Tami Tameis Mitzvah. So he doesn't have the extra Li'imai for the Gzeira Shava that the Rebbe brought before. So from where does he know this halacha? The answer is, Amalach, he will answer you, Kivin Damamar, since Rabbi Akiva himself says, that what do I learn from the extra word over here that it says by Nazir, the extra word of La'achiv? What do you learn from that word according to Rabbi Akiva? That Imoy Kohen Gadol v'Nazir, Nazir, that if a situation is, this person is both a Kohen Gadol and a Nazir, and now there's a Meis Mitzvah, La'achiv ein Metame, Aval Metame ol Meis Mitzvah. La'achiv is teaching me that he can become Tami Tameis Mitzvah. So from here we see that if he's both a Kohen Gadol and a Nazir, he can become Tami Tameis Mitzvah. If so, already here by the extra pasuk of La'achiv by Nazir, I know that if he's a Nazir and a Kohen Gadol, he can become Tami Tameis Mitzvah. So when we said before that I need a pasuk b'chlal to tell me by the parsha of Kohen Gadol, La'aviv over there is telling me that a Kohen Gadol can become Tami Tameis Mitzvah, according to Rabbi Akiva, you don't even need that at all. Over here in the parsha of Nazir, I have an extra word La'achiv, which is telling me that if he's a Kohen Gadol and a Nazir, he can become Tami Tameis Mitzvah, and therefore the Gemara says that according to Rabbi Akiva, Mali Kohen Gadol Uchudei, or Mali Nazir v'Kohen Gadol. What difference is it if he's only a Kohen Gadol, or if he's a Nazir and a Kohen Gadol? If I have the extra word here in the parsha of Nazir La'achiv to teach me that if he's both a Nazir and a Kohen Gadol, he can become Tami Tameis Mitzvah, so for sure, if he's only a Kohen Gadol, he can become Tami Tameis Mitzvah. So you don't need the La'aviv L'imai that it says by Kohen Gadol to teach me that a Kohen Gadol can become Tami Tameis Mitzvah. So the L'imai over there is extra. So the L'imai over there is used for the Gzeira Shava of Rebbe to teach me the halacha that I learn out from Nazir that to a Mitzayra and to a Zav he could become Tami. So the L'imai is extra according to Rabbi Akiva. Now the Gemara turns to Rabbi Shmuel's opinion. Or Rabbi Shmuel, Kohen Gadol v'hu Nazir. This chiddush that Rabbi Akiva said that La'achiv teaches me that if he's both a Kohen Gadol and a Nazir, that he can become Tamei. So where does Rabbi Shmuel learn this from? Minale, from where does he learn this out from? Right? What did Rabbi Shmuel learn out from La'achiv? According to Rabbi Shmuel, La'achiv was the whole source of Meis Mitzvah. So he doesn't have a source to say that if it's a Nazir and a Kohen Gadol, that it could become Tamei to a Meis Mitzvah. So the Gemara answers, Rabbi Shmuel holds there's no distinction. Kivin the Shara Rachman Chat Lav Gabi Meis Mitzvah. Once I learn out that the Torah allows to be over on one lav for the purpose of a Meis Mitzvah, one lav whether he's a Nazir or a Kohen Gadol, so the same thing is also if it's two lav and also Mali Chad Lav, Mali Trein Lav. There's no difference. You don't need another special pasuk to say that if he's both a Nazir and a Kohen Gadol, that it can be Metamata Meis Mitzvah. It's the same thing, one lav, two lav, and the severity of the level of the Isser does not change, and it's already self-understood that if you can become Tomei as a Nazir or as a Kohen Gadol separately to a Meis Mitzvah, you don't need a pasuk to say for both together. Okay, so therefore, again, Mali Chalav and Mali Trein Lav. So now based on this, the Gemara asks, if so, according to Rabbi Shmuel, Achaisai Lamali. Why do I need a special limud from Achaisai? What did we say before? What are we learning out from Achaisai? That when it comes to a Meis Mitzvah, it pushes off the mitzvah of Pesach and Milah. But now the Rishonim explain what's bothering the Gemara is, why did we say before we need a special pasuk to push off those two mitzvahs of Pesach and Milah? Because they're special mitzvahs. They're the only mitzvahs that there's a chiyuv kodesh if you don't fulfill them. Now, what did we just say according to Rabbi Shmuel? That to him, the severity of one lav or two lavin doesn't matter. Once I see that the Torah says you could push off one lav, pushing off two lavin is the same like pushing off one lav. So the Gemara right now understands, if so, when you have a mitzvah say that has kares, could be there's a certain severity to kares taka, but it doesn't make a difference. Once I see the Torah says you can push off a isuf a meis mitzvah, it could be one lav, it could be two lav, and it could be with kares. It's the same thing. So you shouldn't need a special pasuk. They have to push off Pesach and Milah. So why do I need a special drasha from Lachaisa according to Rabbi Shmuel? Rabbi Akiva holds there is a difference between one lav, two lav, and so there's also a difference if it has kares or doesn't have kares, but not according to Rabbi Shmuel. So what do I need a chaysay for? So So the Gemara answers, no, it's not the same thing. 1 lav, 2 lavin, and then the severity of Kodesh is a different story. So, I would think to say, when there's a Torah allow a mace to get Tommy to a mace mitzvah, Nazir v'kain, if you're a Nazir or a kain, or even if you both, the Issa lavihu, because even if it's 2 lavin, but it's still just the Issa of a lav, there's no Kodesh. Avon Milo Pesach the Kodesh. But Mila and Pesach are both the Issa that has Kodesh in it. So I would think that you shouldn't become Tomei to a Meis Mitzvah, Kamash Malon. So therefore, even Rabbi Shmuel will agree, even if you don't need a pasuk for 1 lav and a pasuk for 2 lavim, but you still do need a pasuk to say that if it's a Kodesh, that he's not allowed to become Tomei. Kamash Malon, that's even according to Rabbi Shmuel, you need that pasuk, that limud from Lachaisai. Okay, the Gemara here, the next Talmud, next plot, will continue explaining other details here in what Rabbi Kiva or Rabbi Shmuel said. That's we'll see.